Hey, food friends, and welcome to the Food Founders Podcast. Whether you're looking to get on your very first store shelf or you're looking to grow your national or even international food brand, this podcast is going to teach you what it really takes to launch, grow, and scale a packaged food brand. Hear the food founder journeys of brands growing in their industry so you can fast track your food business success. I'm your host, Ainsley, and this is the Food Founders Podcast. Hello, food friends, and welcome to the Food Founders Podcast. I'm your host, Ainsley, and today I am thrilled to have Mark Yount from My Match Bar here with me today. And Mark is doing something really unique and different and interesting in the bar space. And he's going to be diving into that today. We're going to be sharing all of that with you. So grab your pens and your paper. I think you're going to want to take a lot of interesting notes with this interview. So Mark, welcome to the Food Founders Podcast.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to have you here. I had the opportunity to try My Match Bars probably about a month or so ago. And to be honest, I was like, how is this going to really be different from what else is out there from a bar perspective? They have such a great claim, and I'll get you to dive into that in a little bit about what does make you guys unique and different, but really the fact that you're doing gender specific nutrient bars. I was super intrigued, and then I got them, and my partner and I, he had the for him and I had the for her, obviously, and we were both blown away by the taste of them. And just really, you're onto something really unique and special here. So wanted to share that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We've worked real hard, and like any entrepreneur, we've had quite a journey to get to this point in this day. And I really appreciate that feedback, because whether it's positive or negative, it's everything about, trying to get a new brand into the marketplace and into consumers' hands. So thank you.
Yeah. And for everyone who's listening right now, can you share a little bit about what is My Match Bar and what makes you guys unique and different from other bars out in the market?
Yeah, so what we've done is come up with the name Match, because we match nutrition to gender. And unlike following a diet craze or the diet space in trying to deliver nutrition and hopefully a little piece of education to the consumer, we've decided to take and look at what the differences, some are very subtle and some are quite different between the genders after decades of research, independent research, and so on at all levels of the marketplace, and really complement that as the final step to nutrition for individuals. So, women generally need differing amounts of the same nutrients as men, and vice versa. And then they also need substantial differences in some of the other nutrients, and same with men. So we looked at that and just really delivered it in the best tasting bar that we could put together in the marketplace. So, there's no shortage of nutrition bars out there that most of which have some kind of cute name and are claiming some kind of claim for health and pieces of it. But we looked at something that's been proven over, decades of research of the final step in nutrition is what works for you. And so the easiest way to delineate that is by gender. And so that's what we've done. And our bars have 7 vitamins and nutrients, some of which are the same between men and women in differing amounts, and some of which are considerably different. So that's what we've done.
I think this is such a great idea. And, we're not seeing it so much necessarily in the bar space right now. I haven't seen anything like this out there. But we're starting to see it in other parts of nutrition right now in terms of personalized nutrition. This is becoming a really big piece, and people are finally recognizing the fact that we do not all have the exact same body. We do not all need the exact same nutrients. And I think you are on the cutting edge of where nutrition is really going and And I think that this is absolutely something that people who are really trying to look at, how do I have a healthy life for me? That might look different than what it's going to look like for you. And that's okay. And I think you guys have done a great job of being able to make products that kind of speak to that, like you said, in the easiest form. Like, this is for him, this is for her, our bodies need something different, and away we go. And I think that's really on like the trends that we're really seeing with what's happening in the food industry.
Well, it makes sense from a standpoint that it has been the marketplace that the vitamin pill business has been addressing for decades. And that, as you age, and you need to also, of course, acknowledge the gender differences between the two, but the vitamin industry has been doing it for years. And so we didn't invent it. And it's something that's certainly authentic in the consumer's mind if they're looking at any type of health and wellness program, including dieting. So, yeah, we're just out there putting forth a product with vitamins and nutrients that people have heard of and know that they need, that if they're not getting them through their diet, which we all should, but, we don't always, we're going to be able to fill in the most important ones. Antioxidants, we're an excellent source of fiber, things of that nature. And of course, you can't have a consumer bar product or any consumer product that doesn't follow the sub-trends in the business too. And so we are non-GMO. All of the bars are gluten-free. We use as few ingredients as possible. Whole almonds, which have the healthy fats and the micronutrients that you need in metals and things like that, magnesium and manganese and copper and nickel and things like that. So we tried to make the healthiest bar possible, and then we infuse it and bring forth the vitamins and nutrients. My founding partners, teach at the college level health sciences and kinesiology. So behind me, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm definitely not a health science professor, but they're the ones that put together the common sense mix that we put into the bars. So that's how we delineate the gender specific nutrition claim.
Okay, so that gives a little bit of background as to the science piece of it, the food aspect, with why you're using the ingredients. But like, what got you to start this company in the first place? Like, bring us back to where this idea even came from to create gender specific bars.
Well, we all happen to be weekend athletes, and I'm a runner, a distance runner, and even an ultra marathoner and extreme distance runner. So the nucleus, the first embers of this idea really were mine. About 10 years ago, I was running a trail run here locally and was not having a particularly good day. I had run this race before. I was slowing down and having difficulty getting through it. People were passing me. And really, as I occupied my mind to try to get to the finish line of this race, I was really looking at people thinking, everybody started this race with a different amount of training, a different amount of hydration, a different amount of nutrition. And, we all came out here today with differences. So it really kind of had that general idea. So I was in a totally different industry for my career, my main career. And I started talking to a friend of mine who is the professor of health sciences, and was telling him how badly I had bonked on this run and really was having a difficult time getting through it. And that, how could we come up with something that was a common sense way to make sure that people and weekend athletes and anybody generally could not run into this even in a workday in the middle of the afternoon? What happened here? It's really my question. So we started it off on that basis was, how can we personalize nutrition and bring a common sense product to the market? And truly thought that we would start in the fueling business, possibly with a beverage. So we would have a Gatorade, Powerade, athletic fueling, sweat replacement type of beverage. And you don't get too far along before you realize that you're up against the giants of the globe with Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola that make Gatorade and Powerade, and you're thinking about shipping product around the planet that is, water, infused water, and it gets heavy, and it's just really hard to compete. So we kind of backed off on that idea and did a pivot to nutrition bars. Instead, we can take and offer some personalized nutrition in a nutrition bar and start to work it forward that way. So that was the nucleus of the idea, the nucleus of the company. And we spent about 6 or 8 months in conference calls and pulling in additional partners. They could bring some things to the table. And the three of us, it ended up to be 3 of us, to take it forward and give it a try. So we're actually on our 3rd brand name. The company started as it was named Decade, and it was going to be also age delineated. So you had the original idea was to have beverages, fueling beverages that were not only delineated by gender, so we would have a male line and a female line, but we would also take the decades of life into consideration and offer different vitamins and nutrients. So we had 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60 plus in age delineation. So 2 flavors, and suddenly you're looking at 20 SKUs in the line. So it got complicated really fast. And we overshot the consumer, and really, you can't walk into a grocery chain and ask them to put, 20 SKUs on the shelf of a no-name brand. Everybody loved the idea. You could be so specific about both age and gender and bring something to the marketplace that had, credibility, had a marketing angle to it, so on and so forth. So we actually had nutrition bars on the marketplace that had that concept for a couple of years. As you can imagine, a small startup trying to maintain 20 SKUs in the warehouse and in the line and sell it forward is very complicated. It's very expensive. And there were some things that we needed to do to update the bars. We needed to make them gluten-free. We needed to make them non-GMO. And so when it came time to refresh the line, we decided to go back to the basics and just do the gender delineation, simplify the messaging, simplify the brand. And we've been doing Match brand for about 9 months now. So warts and all story, that's where it started. That's how we got it going. And it is, I think, ready to fly. So.
What I loved so much about that story. Part of it is just you illustrating that it's not a straight line. Like, you went to market with one thing. You thought this was going to be beverages. You thought it was going to be age and gender. And then along the way, things change. You kind of realize these barriers, these realities in a way of it is really difficult to go into a retailer and try to have this many SKUs on the shelf or to just manage what's on the line. And I love how you have been very fluid with continuing to stay true to what you believe the market needs and what the market does need in terms of personalized nutrition in some way, shape, or form. But you've been open to adapting that to what is realistic from a manufacturing perspective, from a retail perspective, and really just not being committed to it needing to be this way. You've been committed to the purpose, and you've been open to allowing it to shift with that. And I think that is a great lesson for a lot of people to take, no matter what stage they're at in the food and beverage business.
Yeah, and really that education was invaluable in getting to this point today. And you've got to be extremely rigid in some pieces of the concept because of the vision that you have for delivering the concept of personalized nutrition and a set of educating the consumer and trying to grow a community and a brand. And then you've got to stay really, really flexible and fluid on other categories because you just aren't educated enough in that piece of it to make those hard and fast decisions. So the education of daily, monthly doing this has been the greatest gift of the whole thing, is knowing what to stay rigid, focused, and adamant about, and what to listen and listen and listen again, because that's a category or that's a piece of this that you may need to, modify. And it doesn't matter that you may need to make a decision on it and still deliver for the consumer. So you have to constantly drill down the details in certain categories and stay focused on those. And then there's times you have to back up and just say, what else is on the shelf? What is in our way? Who else is doing something that hints at something like this? And are they ahead of us? Do they have a good idea that we can, integrate into our product? So, but you're right. For some reason, in all of the years that we've been going through this learning curve and the warts and all story, there is still no other consumer bar on the market. Cliff Bar kind of hinted at it a few years back when they introduced the Luna sub-brand under Cliff Bar. The Luna says right on the package it's nutrition for women, but they didn't come out with an alternate nutrition for men bar, so they didn't complete the gender specificity per se. And the Luna brand has always been a good seller for them. It stayed on the shelves in grocery and earned its way, and it's been expanded through other means of flavors, additional flavors and things like that. So they were definitely an industry leader, and they were onto a piece of it, but we decided to just go out and claim the full detail of gender specificity and bring it forward. So
I would imagine as you were going through this process, it was probably a difficult piece at times to reevaluate the brand or the company as a whole and say, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense that we're going to have beverages, but maybe we want to have a bar. Maybe it makes sense that we want to still be customized, but not necessarily by age. What was your process around that? Because, I would imagine that's a really difficult piece to go through. I think a lot of other companies might have said, hey, you know what? This just isn't going to work. And they throw in the hat. Like, what is it that you did that allowed you to keep going and being committed to finding the right solution versus giving up along the way, I guess?
I willingly walked away from my other industry to do this a few years back. So I was all in from the standpoint of at least having a really strong general feeling that we were on to something. The situation with age and gender delineation, it became obvious early on that we went too far. And generally speaking, we were just out to do something that was solid as far as our unique consumer offering. We just wanted to be different because, as you know, in the food business, you can't just imitate and have a cute name and stay in business. You've got to innovate. You've got to be enough of a consumer hook that's legitimate, that is going to grow your brand over a period of decades, not for 18 or 24 months as you chase a diet fad or something like that. So, trends versus fads, very, very important delineation. So, yes, it was frustrating from the standpoint of we expected consumers to just, please stay off the shelf, come to our website and buy them because it was so innovative, it was so different. And, we really just went too far. Someone had said, I really want to drive this kind of car. And we came out with something that was just too adorned with too many features and took them to a place that was just too much. So, it was well liked by our specialty retailers, hiking, biking, and running stores, specialty stores where people have a community relationship with their retail, brick and mortar retail. And they love the idea. So we were able to go out and sell some hiking, biking, and running stores with 20 SKUs and put them on the shelf and come up with displays and things of that nature. The problem is really that you did not have enough consumers that were able to absolutely embrace both pieces of it. It's not that people were hesitant to buy a bar that, kind of represented their age. It was the fact that it was so new, so different. We just clearly had overshot the market. So I think that was that reaction. While internally also having all of the separate vitamin mixes that we had to put into the product, stock 20 SKUs, and try to grow the business organically that way. So, there was also some inherent, problems that any entrepreneur would have in trying to go from 0 to 20 SKUs.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of inventory and everything to manage along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that you guys have kind of figured out the way to make it work for you, and you were really open to what consumers wanted and what they didn't, and kind of kept going at it and just found a way to give them what they needed and what they wanted and what you guys can handle from an internal perspective.
And we
Did you guys?
also had to, of course, always keep abreast of the market that we were playing in. And the big brands were putting forth messages, easy to understand. The bars taste great. You can't survive in this marketplace if the product has an aftertaste or if it has any kind of a dryness, any kind of a protein mix, whatever it is that turns the customer off. Because at the end of the day, you've got what essentially are modern candy bars. And I say that with a positive tone, not a negative derogatory tone. But you've got, a lot of big companies, packaged food companies that are leading the industry. So
You guys have been in this for quite some time now. You've taken a lot of twists and turns along the way, and you've been with My Match with the gender specific bars now for about 9 months. What is the next big hurdle or growth plan that you guys are working on right now to help you reach those new levels of success that you're striving for right now?
what we will do is really, we took the first 9 months to get seated in grocery shelves. We hired a master broker out of the East Coast, New York area. Selling into grocery stores and into grocery distribution is a long-term slog, quite frankly. There's a lot of new brands. And so we were successful in getting into one of North America's largest distributors with their help. And we started getting placement into chains, grocery chains, and into the grocery sales channel. So that has started. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic has, thrown that into disarray as grocers suddenly weren't looking at nutrition bars, keeping in stock, but all the crazy things that went on in the grocery channel since that came into play. So that's been disrupted and is just now starting to even out again. So really, we're going to continue in that channel best we can, but we also are going after the specialty brick and mortar retailers. So we are starting to sell distributors that sell to bike stores, running stores, and places of that nature because we need their national footprint or their regional footprint. And obviously, we need to be on Amazon, and we are close to that. We're setting up our brand store on Amazon right now, and we'll have our product on Amazon shortly. So those are the ones we're pursuing post haste. That's where the volume is, and that's where the challenges are. We've also got some of the second tier TV shopping networks. There's one here in our home market called Shop NBC that we have gotten a commitment from. We should be on air with them probably in 45 days. But we really do see, I really enjoy, my other career was in sales and marketing. And I really like channels of distribution and sales to learn about those and find out what the dynamics are to reach the consumer. So we've had interest from distributors to hair salons. We've had outdoor distributors that sell to ski and everything from skiing shops to hammock shops to larger outdoor retailers. So we're always looking for new routes to find the consumer, but those channels will easily eat up the next 3 to 5 years as we, strive for growth and try to find the right balance, because some of them are harshly not profitable from the standpoint of you're being mashed into the system, and you've really got to have eyes wide open about whether or not engaged, because a lot of the middlemen eat up a lot of the available profits along the way. So,
if you were to have one piece of advice for someone working in their food company right now, and I know you probably have so many different lessons that you've learned, but what would you tell someone who's at those beginning phases right now in their business?
Well, I would probably tell them the adage that I disliked pretty intensely, that I heard when I was in about year 2 of this situation, which is find, if you can, 3 times the amount of investment that you think this is going to take from a financial standpoint. And secondly, use the assets and the mentorship of the people that turned you down for investment. In other words, keep them as close as the people that actually invest in your company, because it has been a substantial amount of information, learning curve, and mentorship with the people that I have talked to about investing in Match. And while it's not right for them, perhaps personally or corporately, almost 100% of the time, those individuals have said, I will help you in any way that I can, and have turned out to be extremely valuable in this journey. So that's 2 things. Number one, buy 3 times as much money as you think it'll take, because it's going to take three times as long, and you've got to march through that. And secondly, the people that turn you down for investment, keep them in the family, keep them in touch, and the resources and assets I'll bring to the table are invaluable for moving forward.
That is such great advice. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's going to be really helpful for people. And just finally, where can people find you? I know you mentioned you're getting set up on Amazon right now. What are some of the key retailers where people can go and pick up my Match Bars?
We've got some grocers in play. We should be in ShopRite soon. There are about 300 stores based on the East Coast and Eastern Seaboard of the United States. We have King's Supermarket, which is, I believe, out of Asheville, North Carolina, and they own 6 stores called Balducci's. In our home market, which is Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, you can find them at London Byerly's and Kowalski's, which are grocers, specialty grocers. You can order them. Easiest way to get your hands and start chomping on Match Bars is mymatchbar.com. So mymatchbar.com, you can buy them there, and we will send out the Match Bars instantly, and you can get going with them that way. And we'll be on Amazon in about probably 5 to 6 weeks. So that would be late August of 2020 here.
Perfect. Mark, thank you so much for sharing this journey. You have been on such a journey with this, but you've stayed true to your brand purpose. You are delivering consumers what they need, and you're committed to this big long-term purpose, which I think is so key to long-term success in the food and beverage industry. So thank you so much for sharing all of this and for hopping on and sharing your journey on the Food Founders Podcast.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
The Food Founders Podcast is brought to you by the Fab Growth Academy, the online hub for driven food and beverage business owners that want to get on more shelves, get into more homes, and really grow their food business. Inside the Fab Growth Academy, FAB standing for food and beverage. You'll have unlimited access to tools, resources, and training from myself and my food friends. So if you know you have a great product, let's work on building the business side of things so that more people can enjoy it and you can make the impact I know you want to make with your business. The Fab Growth Academy is now open. So hop on over to growmyfoodbrand.com to join me and your fellow food founders inside the Fab Growth Academy. I cannot wait to see you in there and help you grow your business.